What's up, guys? I'm Bob Tompkins with Real Broker and living in South Carolina, and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode of Living in South Carolina, we are going to be talking about the top 5 things to know when moving to South Carolina. So let's jump right in. Coming in at number 1, and one of the biggest reasons people move to South Carolina is the weather. Here in South Carolina, we have terrific weather all year round. While the summers may get a little bit hot, the spring, the fall, the winter are all very enjoyable seasons down here in SC. And depending on where you're at in the state, you could see some different types of climates. Down in the coastal regions, you don't see snow hardly ever. That's maybe a once every 10 year sort of event. If you're down in Charleston, Beaufort, Hilton Head, you're really never going to see snow down there. If you're in the upstate in winter, you may see 1 or 2 snowstorms. It's still not very prevalent. You're lucky if we get 1 or 2 inches worth of snow. But that being said, South Carolina's climate is very warm. So during those spring, winter, and fall seasons, you're going to see great temperatures because we really don't cool off that much compared to other areas of the country. Now, that being said, summers can be a bit brutal. Down in the coastline especially, the humidity is through the roof. So up here in the upstate where I live, we still do have those hot, humid summers, but depending on where you're at in the state, those summers can get a little ferocious. Columbia, our state capital, is called famously hot because of how hot it gets in Columbia. It's kind of the armpit of the state is what we call it, but don't let that deter you from possibly moving here. Coming in at number 2 in the top 5 things to know when moving to the state is our property taxes. Now, South Carolina is known for having some of the best property taxes in the country. In fact, we are the 6th lowest effective tax rate on property in the country. When you mix that in with having the 14th lowest median housing cost in the country, we end up taxing the 5th least on median price properties of any state in the country. So it is a fantastic place to move if you're worried about your property taxes. Now, one thing to consider with that though, the government's gotta get their money somewhere. So while our property taxes are some of the lowest, we do have one of the highest state income taxes in the country. Now, I'm not exactly sure where we fall, but we fall somewhere between 6th and 8th on the state income tax. So that is something to factor in, even though we have lower property taxes. Also, we do have a car tax in South Carolina. So for example, my F-150 carries a tax bill of around $400 to $500 per year that I have to go pay. Coming in at number 3 on the list is recreation. A lot of people, when moving to a new area, are very keen to what sorts of things there are to do around. Fortunately, South Carolina offers a lot for every lifestyle. No matter where you decide to live in the state, you are close and convenient to almost anything you would want to do. South Carolina, not being a very large state, allows you to get from pretty much any area of the state to another with relative ease, and we really have everything when you go from border to border of South Carolina. Where I live in the upstate of South Carolina, we have mountains and lakes. Some of the best of those are Lake Jocassee, Lake Kiwi, Lake Hartwell. Down in the low country of the state, you do have the coastline, the beaches, as well as Lake Marion and Lake Moultrie. And in the center of the state, you do have Lake Murray. So there are lakes scattered across the state. If you're looking for bodies of water, you're gonna be able to find that whether you're in the Midlands, the upstate, or in the low country. We have our beaches, which are relatively accessible from any part of the state. I live about as far as you can from the beach, and I can still get to beaches in about 3.5 hours. In the upstate, you do have mountains, which come with a lot of state parks and hiking trails. So really, whatever sort of outdoor recreation you are looking for in SC, you can have it. Coming in at number 4 on the top 5 things to know when moving to South Carolina is sports. A lot of areas of the country focus heavily on professional sports, and if that's something you're looking for in SC, then we do have it. However, we don't have it in our state. We are located with close proximity to several professional sports teams, but none here. It's a short distance if you live on the west side of the state over to Atlanta, where we have the Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Braves. And if you live anywhere else in the state, it's pretty easy to get up to Charlotte to see the Charlotte Hornets or the Carolina Panthers. But what you need to know about South Carolina is this is a college sports state. We focus far more on the Carolina Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers than we do any professional sports. Now, as a big professional sports fan, that pains me a little bit. But if you are a college fan, you are going to fit in right at home in the state of South Carolina, as this South Carolina-Clemson rivalry is one of the most underrated rivalries in the country. The fans absolutely hate each other, and it's a good time every Saturday at the stadiums. And last but not least on this top 5 list is number 5, breweries. I am a little bit biased, and that's why I have breweries on this list. While we are not an Oregon or a California or a Colorado, I do believe that South Carolina is one of the best places to live if you love craft beer. We have some great breweries in the state, from Edmonds Oast and Westbrook down in Charleston to 13 Stripes up in Greenville, as well as close proximity to Terrapin over in Athens, and then of course, everything that is offered in Asheville, North Carolina. You're gonna have access to a lot of craft beer that isn't distributed nationwide and that is really only available locally. So if you're like me and you're a big craft beer connoisseur, you're gonna love living in South Carolina. Now guys, that has been my top 5 things to know before moving to South Carolina. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos as well. We'll see you on the next episode of Living in South Carolina.